I also think it would be super useful if I just talk about my process for getting hired at a lot of these companies so that way you guys have some idea what to expect. So if you are going through what I said before and you're looking at getting hired in the Solana ecosystem, it kind of looks like this. The first thing is your preparation, which I already kind of covered on, but just keep coding, keep learning, and build really a little portfolio of projects that you can show off to people to show that you can actually do the job. Another good way to sort of get known is just to make yourself known in the community, whether that's Discord, GitHub, events like hackathons. The more connections you have, the better, and the more likely you are to get referenced for doing some work. Most of the time when I'm hiring people to work on projects under me, I'm just looking at people that I've met in one of these places, and some of the work I've seen was really good, and I just bring them onto a project. It was very similar for my first projects that I was working on. Now, how would an interview actually go? Well, normally, if you go through a few different steps. The first one is that you get introed to sort of the founder or the team members, and that's really just they're trying to determine like, can you actually do the job? Is it a good fit? Do you even want the job? What's it really about? It's basically just an intro to the team or the project, and then essentially they would ask for some sort of proof of skill. So whether that is a take-home like a mock take-home quiz, which is normally just building an Anchor app. I got that a lot, or just other references to projects that I had done or previous works in the past. Mainly just, can you actually do the job? And then if you get past those initial rounds and you start an actual interview, most major companies or startups will have you do some sort of architecture talk or a leak code problem, which the architecture talk makes a lot of sense. We've been over that in some of the Metacrafters courses, but it's basically just how you think about a problem and how you would solve that problem and how you would approach that problem. They really just want to know how you think, and that's really important to know how someone thinks about the problems that they're working on. And if you go through, the Metacrafters advanced Solana course where everything is project-based, you'd have a lot of practice figuring out different architectures and whatnot. So you'd be pretty prepared for that. The leak code one is just if you stay programming right, if you're often keeping up to the latest Anchor stuff, or you can obviously just do examples like practice through something like Exorcism.io for Rust specifically. It has a bunch of good leak code problems. There's a bunch of websites that you can use for that kind of thing. But the goal is just to stay sharp. If you're working on projects every day, you'll probably be able to get past all of these pretty easily. And then if you make it past all that and you're finally getting hired, it's a little different based on the types of people you're going to work for. So for something like an NFT project where it's like a small team and you might be the only engineer hired to really launch the project or build some utilities, it's most likely going to be a contract work where they just pay you in Sol or USDC. So it's really up to you to handle all your taxes or anything for that. If you are interviewing with actual startups, a lot of times in Solana, there's a lot of startups that happen from the hackathons and they look for more Rust Anchor developers. That'll normally be a contract where they either bring you straight on, or a lot of times what most of them want is contract to hire. So they will contract you to work with them for a few weeks and see if you guys mesh. And if you do, then ultimately they'll hire you full time. And then if you're talking to larger companies, something like Metaplex, OpenSea, it's probably going to be straight to full time. They'll hire you and pay you everything via a full-time contract. At least these have been my experiences. I've worked for all of the above, and that's kind of been how it's gone. So more contract to could be either one to just full-time work is really what they're looking for. And so hopefully this gives you some idea of sort of the process for actually getting hired and resources, right? Like, okay, cool. Is there any helps or stuff on this? There's not a lot out there. Your best bet is something like Metacrafters, where you can learn everything from A to Z and really get involved with the community and also peers. Like I said, this is especially in crypto. It's all about community. It's all about meeting as many people as you can, vibing off each other, and really using each other as resources and help each other out. That is, one of my biggest recommendations is peers. Other than that, you've got YouTube. The official Solana channel has really good concept videos. But oftentimes there is a lack of resources in Solana, and so you might just have the type docs. Like all you might have is the Web3 JS or the SPL token type docs with no real deep tutorials. So get used to reading the actual docs of the code it's the one source of truth, and everything moves really fast in this industry. So the docs are really the place to go. I would say one advanced secret tip is that on GitHub, almost all these open source projects have really good tests or example folders. So Anchor, Solana, they have example folders, but even better than that, when they launch new things like new features, they won't often have docs, there won't be tutorials, there won't be anything on that, but what they almost always have is some code coverage in the form of tests. So you can go directly to GitHub tests and look how they would make sure that it's working right, and you can try to implement that self if you're really looking for newer features. But yeah, those are definitely some of the best resources to look into for this. And I hope this helps a lot and at least makes it so you don't get any curveballs.